10 signs a woman is divinely protected by angels. There is a mystery that surrounds certain women, an unexplainable grace, a shield that is invisible yet undeniable. No matter what they face, something always seems to intervene just in time. Doors close only to reveal better ones. Storms rise but never drown them. These women are not merely lucky or strong. They are divinely protected by forces the natural eye cannot see. The world may dismiss it as coincidence, but in truth they walk with angels. These celestial messengers guard them, guide them, and position them in alignment with a higher plan. A woman under divine protection doesn't have to fight the way others do. Her greatest weapon is her inner knowing, a faith that angels surround her even when no one else does. She may walk through fire, but she will not be burned. She may be surrounded by enemies, but they cannot touch her purpose. She lives not by sight, but by a deeper truth, that the unseen is more real than the seen, and that heaven responds to the woman who dares to believe she is already kept, covered, and crowned. She walks in peace while others panic. There is a sacred stillness that surrounds the woman who is divinely protected, a peace that confounds the chaos around her. When others crumble under the weight of fear, she remains unmoved, not because she is unaware of the danger, but because she knows a deeper truth. Her faith is not reactive, it is creative. She doesn't wait for peace to show up in her environment. Instead, she carries peace within her and lets it flow outward. In the darkest of moments, she remembers, what she assumes to be true within must manifest without. So when the storms rage, when the threats come, when the walls close in, she returns to her inner chamber, the place of imagination, the seat of her power, and there she declares her safety. She pictures herself guarded. She imagines divine hands pulling her out of the wreckage before it even forms. She doesn't beg for help. She assumes help has already arrived, and that assumption becomes the command that calls angels to attention. To the world it looks like she's lucky, as if danger somehow always seems to just miss her. But this is no accident. Her stillness is not passivity, it is power in disguise. Peace is the proof that she believes. And belief is the bridge between the visible and invisible realms. When others lose sleep, she rests, not because she denies reality, but because she creates a higher one. In her silence, she shifts timelines. In her calm, she disarms every threat. It is not that she is never tempted to fear. It is that she knows fear cannot give birth to divine outcomes, so she returns again and again to the place where all outcomes begin, her imagination. She sees herself surrounded by light. She sees angels stationed at every door. She sees her path guarded, her feet ordered, her days covered in divine favor, and the world must respond, events reorganize. Accidents are blocked, conflicts dissolve, because one woman dared to hold a vision of peace in the middle of war. Her power is not in how loudly she prays, but in how completely she trusts. And that trust, that inner agreement with divine protection, creates a field around her, a force the natural world cannot penetrate. No weapon formed against her can prosper because she never allows the weapon to form within her mind. She understands what she accepts internally, she experiences externally, so she refuses to make a home for fear. She denies it a voice, a seat, a place to settle. She gives her focus to protection, not pain. She waters the garden of safety, not suffering, and in return, heaven aligns with her. Her life becomes a living testimony that peace isn't the absence of danger, it's the presence of divine assurance. This kind of peace is not born of logic, but of intimacy with the unseen. She walks in sync with higher laws. She's not shaken by what's seen because she has already seen what's higher. Her body may stand in a battlefield, but her mind is hidden in glory. That's what makes her untouchable, not because she's perfect, but because she's positioned in a consciousness that will not bend, positioned in a reality that cannot be undone, positioned in a knowing that angels are real, and they move at the sound of belief. You may pass her on the street and not know it. You may underestimate her, mock her quiet nature, doubt her calm spirit, but make no mistake, this woman is guarded. There are forces surrounding her you cannot see. There are assignments canceled on her behalf before they ever reach her door. There are battles fought in realms unseen simply because she refuses to align with fear. She is not reckless, she is rooted. She does not react, she remembers. She remembers who she is and who walks with her, and in that remembrance she rises, not loudly but powerfully, not forcefully but divinely. When others panic, she breathes. When others scatter, she stills herself, because she knows the one who still hears the whispers of angels best. Her stillness becomes a magnet for protection. She is not waiting for safety, she is dwelling in it. That is the difference, that is the secret. That is the first unmistakable sign of a woman who is divinely protected. She walks in peace while others panic, not because she's fearless, but because she has trained her inner world to obey a higher law. A law that says, "No evil shall befall you, and no plague shall come near your dwelling, for he has given his angels charge over you." She has made that promise a reality, not just her hope, and in doing so, she has built a fortress no enemy can touch. Divine detours always lead her to the woman divinely protected by angels. Nothing is random. She has learned to see beyond the surface of disappointment and detect the hand of the unseen orchestrating her steps. What looks like rejection to others, she receives as redirection. What appears to be delay, she interprets as divine timing. While many mourn the doors that close, she gives thanks, because she knows the one who closes them sees what she cannot. Her trust runs deeper than outcomes. She doesn't panic when plans fall apart because she understands the detour is never a detour to heaven. It is the path. The route may change, but the destination never does. When her heart is aligned with divine purpose, angels step in, not to make the road smooth, but to make sure she arrives intact. Often she doesn't even realize she's being rerouted. It comes through a job she didn't get, a friend who walked away, a contract that was canceled, or a door she knocked on that remained shut. The old version of her might have cried, questioned, or doubted, but not anymore. She has matured spiritually to the point where she no longer asks why, but whispers thank you, because the more she has trusted, the more she has seen a pattern. Every divine detour led to something better. Every no preserved her from destruction. Every unanswered prayer hid a higher miracle. She has been protected not just from harm, but from settling for less than divine design. She realizes now that divine protection is not just about safety, it's about alignment. God doesn't just keep her safe, he keeps her aimed, and to stay aimed, sometimes he must interrupt the path that her logic built. So angels step in, not to punish, but to protect, not to delay her, but to accelerate her in the unseen. And when she finally steps into the places she was meant for all along, she looks back and realizes what felt like loss was heaven's strategy. She would not have the life she has now had certain doors opened. She would not know the strength she walks in had certain people stayed. She would not be this woman had she not been divinely rerouted. So now she welcomes interruptions. She no longer prays for things to go her way. She prays to stay aligned with the way that leads to her greatest unfolding. Even when she doesn't understand the timing, she trusts the architect. She recognizes that angels are not bound by clocks or calendars. They are eternal messengers sent to fulfill divine plans, and her surrender to that plan gives them full permission to intervene. So they do, quietly, powerfully, perfectly. She escapes traps she never saw. She bypasses disasters that were never allowed to reach her. She takes exits she didn't even know were exits, because she felt the whisper, sensed the nudge, followed the peace. That is how divinely protected women move, not through force, but through inner flow. She may change direction quickly, and to those watching it might look like indecision, but she knows better. She is following an unseen map. She is being led by alignment, not appearances, and every time she listens, she is protected from what could have shattered her. Even in heartbreak, she senses preservation. Even in closed chapters, she recognizes wisdom. Because hindsight has shown her too many miracles not to trust the pattern, so now she walks with a calm awareness. Even when confusion clouds her vision, she doesn't spiral into despair. She remembers the detours of her past, the paths that looked like wilderness but ended in gardens. And that memory fuels her trust. She knows, if something is being taken, something greater is on the way. If she is being delayed, it is because heaven is preparing a space worthy of her arrival. If she is being rerouted, it's only because the original road had hidden dangers. And so she yields, not in defeat but in divine confidence. This yielding is not weakness, it is the ultimate strength, because it takes courage to let go of what is familiar and embrace the unseen. It takes boldness to say yes to a path you don't fully understand. But she has done it enough times now to know, the more she yields, the more she is protected. The more she lets go, the more heaven steps in. Divine detours are not signs that things are going wrong. They are proof that things are being made right. Every shift is sacred. Every no is a setup for a better yes. Every redirection is the voice of angels saying, not this way, beloved, this way. And she listens not just with her ears, but with her spirit. That is the secret. That is the mark of the divinely protected woman. She doesn't just believe in angels. She partners with them. She lets go of control so they can take control. She loosens her grip so God can strengthen his. And in doing so, she walks in a grace that others long for but cannot manufacture. It is not strategy. It is surrender. It is not intellect. It is intimacy. Her life flows in rhythm with the divine because she no longer fears detours. She recognizes them as the truest sign of divine protection. So while others fight for their own way, she aligns with a higher one, and that is why her path, though it may twist and turn, never leads her astray. It always leads her home. She escapes what should have destroyed her. There is something unexplainable about the woman who has been through fires, and yet bears no burn marks. Life tried to break her, bury her, silence her, but she kept rising. Not because she's lucky or unusually strong, but because she is divinely protected by unseen forces who war for her when she doesn't have the strength to fight. She doesn't escape because she runs faster or fights harder. She escapes because heaven says not this one. She walks through situations that should have swallowed her whole, but somehow the ground gives way under her enemies and holds her steady. Her story is filled with near misses, silent battles, invisible rescues, car accidents that didn't happen, diagnoses reversed, relationships ended just in time, betrayals revealed before they could ruin her. From the outside, it might seem like chance, but to the woman who walks with angels it is confirmation. She knows she is covered, and this covering is not earned through works. It is received through belief. There is a knowing deep within her that says, I am not alone in this. Even when tears flood her vision, even when her body feels heavy from the fight, there is a whisper in her soul, you will not be destroyed. She may be bent, but she will not break. She may be delayed, but she will not be denied. She may be attacked, but she will not be defeated. Why? Because divine protection is not a theory to her. It is a reality she has lived through. Every time she thought she reached her end, something shifted. Every time she was surrounded, an unseen door opened. Every time she had no words to pray, angels responded to the silent cry of her heart. What should have destroyed her became the very thing that proved she was held, and this awareness changes everything. It gives her a kind of boldness that can't be faked. She doesn't fear darkness because she's seen light interrupted too many times. She doesn't panic in uncertainty because she's watched miracles unfold from what looked like ruin. People may wonder how she's still standing, how she keeps her peace, how she carries hope after all she's faced, and she may not even have the language to explain it. But in her soul she knows, I am here because I was never alone. I was shielded when I didn't even know I was in danger. I was protected from enemies I didn't know I had. I was spared from decisions that would have cost me my soul. And now when trouble comes, she doesn't ask, will I make it? She declares, I've made it through worse and came out stronger. The more she remembers her escapes, the more power she walks in. She doesn't let trauma define her. She lets divine rescue refine her. And the more grateful she becomes, the more protected she feels. Gratitude is her weapon, faith is her shield, and trust is her map. She doesn't have to predict every twist and turn of life because she knows she's guarded at every one of them. Even when she's in places that look like defeat, she reminds herself, it looked like defeat the last time too, and I came out delivered. The consistency of her escapes builds a deep, unshakable confidence. She's not exempt from trials, but she's exempt from destruction. That's the mark of divine protection. That's the signature of heaven on her life. Where others fell, she stood. Where others broke, she bent and rose again. And now her presence carries a weight, because people can feel that she's walked through the fire and brought back wisdom, not wounds. Her very survival is sacred evidence. She may not shout it from the rooftops, but those who look close can see it in her eyes. She knows something, or rather, she's been known by something greater. The fact that she's here is a miracle. The peace she walks in is a miracle. The way she gives love after betrayal, trusts after loss, hopes after disappointment, that is not natural, it is supernatural, and it all comes from the encounter she's had with divine rescue. The world may never see the full story. People may never know how close she came to losing herself, how many nights she wept in silence, how often she thought she couldn't go on. But heaven knows, and because she's tasted that kind of deliverance, she now walks with quiet authority. She's no longer easily rattled. The enemy doesn't intimidate her. Fear doesn't enslave her, because once you know you're protected by the Most High, once you realize that angels moved heaven and earth to get you out of situations designed to destroy you, you stop living like a victim. You start walking like a vessel, divinely guided, divinely chosen, divinely kept. That's who she is now, not perfect, but protected, not flawless, but favored, not untouchable, but unshakable, because when she should have fallen apart, something greater held her together. And now, her life is a message without her speaking a word. God didn't let it break me. I was built for more. That's why she escaped. That's why she endured. That's why she's still here. Her very existence is proof of divine intervention. The scars are there, yes, but so is the smile, so is the strength. So is the spirit that says, I've walked through fire, but I was never alone. And she'll carry that truth for the rest of her days, glowing with the quiet power of a woman who knows that angels walk with her. Her intuition is the voice of angels. There's a wisdom she carries that cannot be taught, a knowing that rises from within her like an ancient echo, guiding her steps before danger can reach her. The woman divinely protected by angels does not move through life blindly. She is led by an inner compass that always seems to point her in the right direction, even when logic screams otherwise. Her intuition is not just a feeling, it is a divine transmission, a whisper from the unseen realm wrapped in the language of instinct, while others overlook the subtle nudge or silence the still, small voice inside. She listens. She understands that intuition is not something she developed, but something she was gifted, a sacred connection between her spirit and the celestial forces assigned to protect her. She doesn't ignore the chills that race down her spine when she's in the wrong place, or the quiet urging to wait just a little longer, or turn left instead of right. Those moments, though small to others, have been her rescue time and again. Sometimes it came as a sudden urge not to go somewhere. Other times it was an unshakable feeling about a person, a situation, a decision. And whenever she obeyed that nudge, she discovered later that it saved her. Whether from heartbreak, betrayal, disaster, or something darker, she may never fully know. That's the kind of guidance the protected woman lives by. She doesn't wait for signs in the sky. She's trained to read the movement of her soul. She knows angels don't always speak in thunder. They often speak through quiet impressions. And because she honors those whispers, heaven honors her obedience with continued guidance. To the outside world, her choices may seem strange. She may leave relationships that look perfect on the surface, decline opportunities others would die for, take risks that defy reason, but she is not moved by appearances, she is moved by alignment. She knows when something feels off, it is off, even if the evidence hasn't shown up yet. Her intuition acts faster than her eyes, and she's learned to trust it. That trust didn't come overnight. It was built through trial and error, through moments when she didn't listen and paid the price. But even in those lessons, angels were near, teaching her to tune her inner ear, to listen not with fear, but with faith. Now she doesn't just trust her intuition, she walks with it like a sacred partner. When others seek constant confirmation, she carries stillness. When chaos surrounds her, she doesn't react, she tunes in, and often in that quiet space answers emerge without force. Her intuition reveals truth before it arrives in the natural. She's the woman who senses things before they happen, who discerns energies no one else speaks of, who feels the vibration of a room shift without a word being said, and though she may not always be able to explain what she feels, her life proves her accuracy. The job she avoided, the path she skipped, the people she walked away from, they were all wrapped in unseen protection. She never needed to see the full picture to know the right step. The nudge was enough. That is the beauty of divine intuition. It doesn't explain, it invites trust. It bypasses logic to speak spirit to spirit, and this woman is attuned to that sacred frequency. She has created space within herself to hear the divine, through prayer, meditation, solitude, and surrender. She doesn't need noise to be convinced. She needs stillness to be guided, and in that stillness she communes with angels. Some call it gut instinct, others say it's women's intuition, but she knows better. It is divine technology, a built-in alarm system that activates when something threatens her destiny. It is the language of angels, encoded in emotion and perception. It tells her what to avoid, where to rest, when to move. It is the divine GPS recalculating her steps in real time. The more she listens, the clearer it becomes. Her discernment sharpens, her confidence grows, and she no longer needs the approval of others to follow her knowing. She moves with peace as her confirmation. If it robs her peace, it's not for her. If it stirs her spirit, she investigates. She no longer ignores red flags in favor of potential. She trusts what her spirit reveals over what her eyes see. That's the power of being divinely protected. When your guidance is internal, you are never truly lost. Even in confusion, she is being led. Even in silence, she is being spoken to, and that awareness makes her unstoppable. She no longer panics in the face of uncertainty. She doesn't chase answers, she receives them. She no longer begs for clarity, she waits for it, because she knows clarity is a natural byproduct of alignment. When she is centered, the voice of angels is unmistakable, and that voice becomes her armor, her shield, her light. Others may depend on outside counsel for every decision, but the divinely protected woman has direct access to the highest wisdom. She can feel when something is wrong before it's revealed. She can sense what's coming even when the horizon is clear, and she acts on it, not out of fear, but out of reverence for the guidance she's been given. Her intuition is not a backup plan, it is her first line of defense, and it has saved her more times than she can count. She has escaped heartbreak, betrayal, loss, and danger because she listened, and now she no longer doubts herself. She no longer silences the whispers to please the crowd. She no longer needs external proof to validate her path. She moves with sacred assurance that angels are guiding her, and her intuition is their chosen voice. That is the mark of divine protection. Not only is she guarded from the outside, but she is equipped from the inside. What greater shield is there than to carry divine wisdom within? So now she honors that voice. She surrenders to its rhythm, and every day she becomes more in tune with the language of heaven spoken through her own soul. She is surrounded by unseen favor. There's a mystery that follows the woman who is divinely protected. Things seem to align for her in ways that defy explanation. Doors open without force. Opportunities arise without effort. She finds herself in the right places, meeting the right people at the right time. But what the world calls coincidence, she knows is unseen favor. It is not luck, nor is it random blessing. It is the mark of divine orchestration working behind the scenes to position her, prepare her, and promote her in accordance with a higher plan. This kind of favor cannot be earned through merit or manipulation. It is spiritual, it is sacred. It is a grace that hovers over her life like an invisible shield, drawing provision, protection, and purpose into her path. Even when she doesn't understand how things come together so seamlessly, she never doubts the source. She lives with a quiet awareness that something beyond the natural realm is at work on her behalf. This woman doesn't chase validation, nor does she strive for recognition. She simply walks in alignment with divine truth, and as a result, favor chases her. It shows up in small ways, like the job she wasn't qualified for but still received, or the home she somehow managed to secure just before it was taken off the market. It shows up in the people who show her kindness without knowing her story, and the circumstances that bend in her direction even when the odds say otherwise. She's learned to expect this favor, not arrogantly but reverently. Because favor is not just about receiving, it's about being in position to receive, and she has aligned her mind and heart with the energy of divine provision. Her faith isn't passive, it's a magnet. Her belief becomes the signal that activates the movement of angels. Wherever she goes, she carries the aroma of destiny fulfilled. Things work for her not because she manipulates, but because she surrenders. She no longer hustles for what is hers, she aligns with it. She no longer begs for open doors, she walks up to them knowing they've been waiting for her. This kind of favor is invisible to the eye but undeniable in its effect. It clears paths before she steps into them. It shifts hearts in her direction without her having to speak a word. It turns rejection into redirection and delays into divine setups. Her favor is not loud, it's layered. It unfolds over time, revealing itself as protection, provision, and promotion wrapped in ordinary moments. And she doesn't take it for granted. She knows that favor isn't always flashy. Sometimes it looks like peace when she should be in pieces. Sometimes it looks like discernment that saves her from the wrong relationship. Sometimes it's simply the absence of chaos in a season that should have been stormy. That, too, is favor, when what could have happened didn't, when the worst-case scenario passed over her home, when harm was diverted and blessings were preserved. She walks under a covering that cannot be explained, only experienced, and because of this she lives differently. She doesn't force outcomes. She trusts timing. She doesn't compete. She creates. She doesn't manipulate. She magnetizes. Her posture is one of open hands and surrendered heart. That's the secret to her favor. She's emptied herself of striving and filled herself with faith, and that faith makes her irresistible to heaven's design. Angels move for the woman who trusts instead of trembles, who believes instead of begs, who walks instead of waits. She knows that favor is attracted to alignment, not performance, so she aligns her thoughts with truth. She aligns her emotions with peace. She aligns her steps with purpose, and heaven responds. Her favor may confuse those around her. People may question why she advances when they worked harder. They may envy how everything seems to work out for her. But she doesn't need to defend it. She doesn't explain what cannot be understood through logic. She simply continues to walk in humility, knowing that what surrounds her comes from the source within her. Favor is her atmosphere because trust is her frequency, and she refuses to lower that frequency for fear, doubt, or control. She protects her peace, knowing that favor flows best through surrendered vessels. Even when trials come, she doesn't assume favor has left. She understands that favor can look like pruning. It can look like loss that makes room for gain. It can look like redirection that saves her from destruction. Her favor is not a guarantee of ease. It is a guarantee of purpose being fulfilled, no matter the process. She knows she is held, chosen, covered, and this awareness gives her a rare kind of confidence, not boastful, but anchored. She moves like a woman who knows she is loved by the divine, and in that love she is always favored. The storms may come, but they will pass. The weapons may form, but they will not prosper, because the favor over her life speaks louder than any attack. It announces her arrival before she enters the room. It whispers to hearts that she is worthy of kindness. It opens doors even her effort could never have knocked down. She doesn't walk alone. She walks with the backing of the heavens. And though she may look ordinary to the world, the spiritual realm knows exactly who she is, a woman favored by God, escorted by angels, marked for glory. That's why she continues to rise. That's why things align for her. That's why she is safe, successful, and steady, not by chance, but by divine design. She is surrounded by unseen favor, and that favor is rewriting her story with every step she takes.